Welcome to the Coven Chat. Hello, merry meet, and welcome. Thank you for joining me here at the Maiden Circle Coven Chat podcast, where we talk all things witchy, spiritual, and human. In this episode, we're talking about everyone's favorite subject, twin flames. We'll look into some of the lore behind the twin flame idea, as well as the idea of soulmates and other kinds of spiritual connections. Before we get into this, though, I really like the idea of starting some of our episodes with readings of the literature sort. It could be a poem, an excerpt, or something homemade, something I wrote or someone who comes on the podcast writes. I find that reading is a very grounding activity for me, and being read to can be comforting for other people, so hopefully you get something out of it too. We'll follow that up with a pagan fun fact. I'll give you some of my own thoughts on today's topic, and then we have a very special interview with a very special guest. I do hope you enjoy today's show. Thank you so much for being here, and let's get into it. I classed, appraising once earth's lamentable sounds, the well-a-day, the jarring yea and nay, the fall of kisses on unanswering clay, the sobbed farewell, the welcome mournfuller, but all did leaven the air with a less bitter leaven of sure despair than these words, I loved once. And who saith I loved once? Not angels, whose clear eyes love foresee, love through eternity, who by to love do apprehend to be, not God, called love, his noble crown name casting a light too broad for blasting. The great God, changing not from everlasting, saith never, I loved once. Nor ever the loved once dost thou say, victim Christ, misprized friend, the cross and curse may rend, but, having loved, thou lovest to the end. It is man's saying, man's, too weak to move one's feared star above. Man desecrates the eternal God-word love with his no more and once. How say ye, we loved once, blasphemers? Is your earth not cold enow, mourners without that snow? Ah, friends, and would ye wrong each other so? And could ye say of some, whose love is known, whose prayers have met your own, whose tears have fallen for you, whose smiles have shone, such words, we loved them once? Could ye, we loved her once, say calm of me, sweet friends, when out of sight? When hearts of better right stand in between me and your happy light? And when, as flowers kept too long in the shade, ye find my colors fade, and all that is not love in me decayed, such words, ye loved me once? Could ye, we loved her once, say cold of me, when further put away in earth's sepulchral clay? When mute the lips which deprecate today? Not so, not then, least then. When life is shriven and death's full joy is given of those who sit and love you up in heaven, say not we loved them once. Say never ye loved once. God is too near above, the grave below, and all our moments go too quickly past our souls for saying so. The mysteries of life and death avenge affection's light of range. There comes no change to justify that chance. Whatever comes, loved once. And yet that word of once is humanly acceptive. Kings have said, shaking a discrowned head, we ruled once. Daughters, we once taught and led. Cripples once danced in the vines, and bards approved were once by scornings moved. But love strikes 1 hour, love those never loved, who dream that they loved once. It is time for our pagan fun fact of the day.
Pagan fun fact. Here's your fun fact now.
When we discuss soulmates, we are often thinking in terms of someone who is far away or distant from us, and we wish to bring them closer. That is something that magic helps us do. It allows us to not only prepare ourselves for this union, but to bring ourselves into it. Magic also works to take what's near and push it far. That's essentially what Gerald Gardner, known as the father of Wicca, did in August of 1940 when he and his coven gathered to perform a spell, a ritual, to create a cone of power protecting Britain. In 1940, tensions were high. It looked like the world was moving towards a war, and as we know now, it did. And Hitler was on a warpath. He was going after the countries he wanted to control. He had everything set up for England, but he just never went there. One of the most popular stories for why that is that Gerald and the New Forest Coven gathered, created this cone of power, and protected their home. Gerald Gardner himself said, "I am not saying that they stopped Hitler. All I say is that I saw a very interesting ceremony performed with the intention of putting a certain idea into his mind. And though all the invasion barges were ready, the fact was that Hitler never even tried to come." It is the belief that they used this cone of power to not only repel Hitler and create this idea that he didn't even want Britain, but to build their own power within. Whether or not you believe the cone of power worked is obviously up to you, but I do think there's a lot of merit in the beauty of large groups of spiritual people working together for the greater good of all, working not just in word, but in deed, in action. Gerald Gardner and the New Forest Coven demonstrated this, and I do believe that their power had something to do with keeping their home safe. Of course, your opinion may vary. Feel free to let me know. So, twin flames and soulmates. It's a very interesting topic to me, and I do want to start by saying what we know as the twin flame journey, how we discuss the twin flame journey. A lot of it has never really resonated with me. However, I do believe that there is a such thing as a twin soul, or a soul that is your mirror, that matches you in frequency in such a way that they may even have a similar life to you. They may have had similar trauma, similar experiences, even though you never met. You may find with your twin soul that you are like ships in the night, kind of passing by each other throughout your life. And I think that's where we get this idea that twin souls or twin flames have the runner-chaser thing. And maybe they do, I'm not the authority on it. But I do know that there's like this nearness that is always between you that you don't become aware of until you come into union. The idea of twin flames has been around for a long time. There are conflicting reports as to where exactly it comes from and who even created the term twin flames. Multiple reports say that it comes from the 1970s. At least one scholar believes that the term twin flame comes from a spiritual leader called Elizabeth Clare Prophet. I did a little research on Prophet, and apparently she had a lot of followers in the 80s, and she wanted them to prepare for nuclear Armageddon. She wanted them to prepare for the end of the world and the explosion of the world. But in the 1970s, before that, She apparently, according to scholar Lisa Vallejos, she coined the term twin flame and published a book about 20 or 30 years later called Soulmates and Twin Flames, the Spiritual Dimension of Love and Relationships. I haven't read the book, so I'm not directly promoting it or recommending it, but if you do read it and it brings some ideas to mind, please feel free to share them. Other scholars believe that the term is attributed to an author named Barbara Marciniak, or Marciniak. I probably said that all wrong, and I do apologize. Barbara is known as a trance channeler, and she, I believe, is still around. I think she lives in North Carolina, last I looked, which was on Google. And she's also an author, so you can find her books, Bringers of the Dawn, Family of Light. I think a lot of her focus is on angels and angelic beings. Of course, many, myself included, believe that the concept of twin flames and twin souls is so much older than the 1970s. The philosopher Plato, he wrote about souls which mirrored one another. He described the Greek god Zeus taking power from humans by splitting them into male and female, or masculine and feminine. And this always makes me think of the musical Hedwig and the Angry Inch by John Cameron Mitchell, because within that musical there is a song called The Origin of Love, and it is such a beautiful song. It's one of my favorite songs from a musical, and it is a mishmash of all these different origin myths, but it starts off with humans being these people with 4 arms and 2 heads, 2 faces, 2 mouths, these beings that were whole with their 2 parts. And then Zeus comes and splits them up with his lightning bolts. And some other gods, they sew them up and clear them up. And then the humans are scattered across the earth and separated from their other half. And I've always found that so beautiful. I do believe that we, as we are now, are whole and entire beings, but the feeling and the connection of a twin soul can almost be as strong as if they bring some sort of completion to you. They bring some sort of knowing and complete understanding of your own soul to you, even though you yourself are a whole being. A lot of people use that myth to describe soulmates, or believe that it does. And I believe that it is more representative of the twin soul or twin flame connection, because it's only those 2 beings that were split, and it is one being looking for another being that matches their vibes. When I think of soulmates, I've had this idea ever since I was a child. I think of the structure of an atom, where atoms tend to have the center, the nucleus, and then they have electrons and protons, or electrons and neutrons. It's been a long time. I don't fully remember, but essentially I think of the little picture that they show you when you're young, and there's the nucleus in the center, and then there's a ring, and on that ring are some electrons or protons, and then there's another ring, and on that ring are some, but probably fewer, and then on the next ring there may be some, there may be none. And I believe that when it comes to soulmates or your soul family, it's more of that structure, where there are souls that you bring with you through lifetimes, that choose to come with you. You're not dragging them along. They choose to come with you through lifetimes because you have this match, you have this closeness, you have this belonging together. And then there are some who will come with you for 2 lifetimes and then no more, or some who will only see you for 1 lifetime, and they were meant to be a part of your life. You were meant to learn something from each other, and maybe 5 lifetimes down the road you run into each other again. And I know this is all very esoteric and like wooey, but what else are you here for? So essentially with soulmates, they are your electrons and protons, or electrons and neutrons. They are Some of them are closer and more bonded to you, and some of them are further away, but they're still very important so that you can maintain spiritual balance, and you still have to see them in different lifetimes to learn whatever it is you're supposed to learn from them until you no longer are, or you no longer choose to. Of course, when you discuss soulmates in those terms, you get into ideas like reincarnation, you get into ideas like what happens in the afterlife, and those are topics that I am very, very excited to chat with you about in the future. For now, though, we are going to go ahead and move on to the interview section of today's episode. Of course, please remember we won't be doing interviews for every episode, but I think this one is going to be very special. I hope you enjoy it. So we are here with Sabrina Sahara, founder of BackIINatural, a holistic brand focusing on ancestral alchemy. I think I said that right. Sabrina will explain to us more what that is. Hi, Sabrina.
Hello, Victoria. How are you?
Lovely. Thank you so much. So we have had a lovely chat this morning already.
Yes.
But please let our listeners know more about you, more about BackIINatural and everything that you're doing. Introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me. This is an honor and a pleasure on a personal note and on a professional and passionate and all of these things. We're on a alignment with our purpose. So it is an honor to be here with you. Thank you. I am Sabrina Sahara, as you said. Ancestral Alchemy is the focus of my brand. And basically what that is aligning with the ancestral realm. I am a clairaudient, so I do and have always heard the voices without, knowing as a child what it really was. And then as I stopped being scared of it, got older, was able to understand a little bit more. And basically I channel information, whether it's using divinatory tools like crystals and tarot decks and oracle decks, but I also create a lot of different products, including essential oil serums and crystal jewelry. I make handmade orgonite, and I get the recipes as well as designs and the combinations of stones in my dreams, and my ancestors will kind of whisper things to me. Or if I just kind of go rogue and try to do something, they'll tell me, no, don't put that crystal with that crystal, or don't put that herb with that essential oil. So I've just been doing that for a long time, for I would say maybe 15 years or so, but it was during the pandemic, on the onset of that I actually kind of shifted gears a little bit to focus a lot more on BackIINatural and actually created the brand itself. BackIINatural, out of hearing people consistently say that they can't wait for things to get back to normal. And I was kind of like, normal is kind of what got us into this shit in the first place. We need to get back to natural and just reground and tap into, our altars and create those sacred spaces and get back to the earth and the elements in general. So my past life, which I've actually, started to get back into, and I say past life, but still in this current life, is my original brand, Red Sahara, which is my live and production company for live music and events. So I'm a singer-songwriter, recording artist. My business partner, best friend, guitarist, co-songwriter Vita Tanga, and I are Red Sahara. And we were kind of on hiatus during the pandemic. Naturally, it was kind of hard for us to be on stages with closed venues. So decided at that point to kind of focus a little bit more on the healing and the fact that obviously everybody needed that. And we really, again, needed to reground. And now I'm actually back on stage and performing again, but still very much focused on the BackIINatural brand. I'm a Taurus sun. I'm a human design projector, and learning how all of those different facets of me play into all of the different titles and roles that I play and the hats that I wear. I'm a mommy to Kaya Sky, my stunning starseed 11-year-old daughter. And I'm a multidisciplinary artist. As I mentioned, I'm an intuitive, clairaudient. I refer to myself as an ancestral alchemist. And alchemy, as we know, is transforming things, taking one thing and turning it into something else, and working with my hands and my heart. And that's pretty much what I've been focused on the past couple of years, and being a community curator and creating a lot of different events in person as well as virtually, and particularly empowering Black women for us to have affinity spaces, for us to remember our original essence and the healing work that we do, and how we tap into the ancestors. And I am initiated in the Ifa tradition, so connecting with the Orisha, forces of nature, the Neteru, and how all of that is so important for us to reground, to remember who we are and remember our royalty and divinity. So that's a little bit about me.
That is wonderful. You do wear a lot of hats. You're a very busy person.
I am. I'm learning that I shouldn't be, especially this whole human design projector thing. I'm like, oh, I got to rethink so much now that I, have this new element to myself, which makes so much sense. So yeah, it's interesting.
I would love to have you come back and talk to us about the whole human design thing. We were talking about that a little bit earlier, and it's very new to me. So I would love to have you come back in another episode and talk about that.
That would be great.
But today,
we'll all study up.
Today we are talking about the twin flame, twin soul, soulmate experience. And not everybody has that experience. A lot of people don't, come into this world with a twin flame or twin soul. And some of us do. And you, I believe, are on that journey. So can you tell us, I guess, what you know about the twin flame in the common experience? Like, what do you know that is, I am not an expert on it at all. I believe in many different things, and I believe in soulmates. And I've already discussed my beliefs earlier in this episode, but what is the common known experience of the twin flame journey, and how has that knowledge, that understanding of that experience aligned with your own personal beliefs?
Great question. Beliefs and the experience, right? Because it's exactly that. We can be learned and learned and studied up, and then until it's like slams in your face, it's like you're right back at zero. And that's the experience that I very recently been on myself. But ironically, I was kind of thrust into the twin flame understanding because of a dream. And I've been getting dreams, but one dream in particular of the violet flame. And I didn't really know much about the violet flame, but I actually had this dream and saw this image, and it was so visually and physically stimulating and intense and overwhelming that it actually woke me up, jolted me physically sitting upward out of bed. And I saw the image still as I woke up, and then I tried to kind of draw what I saw. And then I was trying to, okay, what is this? This is purple flames, purple. And I was typing that in Google, and then I came across the violet flame, and I was like, whoa, this is an actual thing. Oh my goodness. Okay, why is this being presented to me? So then I, down the rabbit hole with the violet flame. And then I came across Archangel Zadkiel and Amethyst, who are twin flames. And Archangel Zadkiel and Amethyst are the keepers of the violet flame. And then Saint Germain, who was another reincarnation, keeper of the violet flame, and his twin flame, Lady Portia. So then I just started going down this rabbit hole, doing all of the research, and it led me to, I Am discourses by Saint Germain, which completely transformed my life. And just, again, at this point, understanding more about the twin flame journey, which I always knew about, but I didn't know if I was necessarily of that journey, because the bit that I did know is just like you said, I knew that not everybody is a twin flame. So it wasn't something that I was kind of interested in per se, because I didn't feel like I necessarily was that, even though I did believe that there was a man that's designed for me, as I always say. It didn't necessarily have to be twin flame. People can find their soulmates. You have multiple soulmates. People can find false flames. People can find all kinds of stuff, karmic relationships, right? And you feel like that's the thing that's forever, because it's the most intense experience that you've had. So all of that to say, the more research that I ended up doing on the twin flame journey, and then started to get more dreams, I started to feel like, okay, maybe there's a reason that they're taking me down this path. And maybe I should be investing more energy and more time into understanding what this is about. And if that's what's going to open me up to receiving, or at least getting confirmation if I am one or not. All that to say, I absolutely got confirmation that I am on the twin flame journey, and I was guided to start to call my twin flame in. So I started to do different rituals and things like that, kind of subtly in a sense, because again, I didn't really know much about it other than the traditional concept of the twin flame is I believe in the Greek understanding of it is, like we had also talked about when we did virtual vendors together. Thank you again for that awesome feature on this topic as well. Thank you. Where you had mentioned, and I also obviously came across that when you just look up the general information, that, you know, you were created, or this twin flame was created in a body that had 2 heads, 4 arms, 4 legs, 1 soul. And then that body was split. So then you become now the individual, technically 2 individuals with the 1 head, 2 arms, 2 legs, but still that same soul. And then these 2 entities, physically separate entities, are constantly looking for each other so that they can kind of reclaim their souls, because ultimately you're kind of half of a soul, right? And you're on this journey now trying to get into union and completion by finding your other half in that sense. So that is, you know, the general legend of things, which I, you know, came into the understanding. And then, like you said, there's twin soul. You can say there's the mirror soul that's either in separation or in union. So I understood that. And I also know that it's often known to be a very intense, overwhelming, highly emotional, triggering dynamic. And that's because you're able to recognize yourself in terms of your shadow and your light in another person. So things that you may not want to admit to yourself, you're more easily open to seeing it or pointing it out in someone else, right? But when you do that and realize that this is a twin mirror image, then you kind of have no choice but to realize that that means me too. So as a result, it does kind of create some tension and some conflict, and at the same time, a lot of healing and a lot of understanding and a lot of acceptance when you're able to be accountable in that projection and reflection. So that is, you know, some of the general ideas. And I also love the idea that you can't really be your full self in terms of your potential and your passions and your purpose. It can't fully be realized if you are a twin flame and you're not in union with your other half, because you share a chakra system. So there's always going to be this kind of imbalance if you're not kind of connected to them, and, you know, feeling like you're not really firmly planted in some ways. So I think that's a cool idea, because I think that the twin flame concept is that you're also supposed to augment each other. You're supposed to inspire each other to be your most ultimate selves. And that's how you can also pay attention to who may not be the true twin flame, because again, there's false flame that might make you think that it's that. Karmic relationships sometimes might make you feel like, oh, this person must be my twin flame because there's so much drama and toxicity and trauma. And that's not necessarily the case, because it shouldn't be ugly. It shouldn't be toxic. It shouldn't, you know, there shouldn't be this level of disrespect. And right. I was in a dynamic that I thought was potentially my twin flame until I realized, understanding more about the journey, that it shouldn't feel bad. You know, even if it's uncomfortable, it could be uncomfortable,
but it shouldn't make you miserable.
It shouldn't feel bad. Exactly. Right. You know, and you shouldn't have to try to convince somebody how you feel. So if you have to convince someone, like, no, you hurt me, and you've got to, like, you know, bang their head against the wall to try to get them to just say sorry to your owl, chances are that's not your twin flame. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That was, some of the understanding. And then the whole runner chaser dynamic thing, which, you know, we talked about that as well. And you gave me such a, you know, unique perspective too. That's kind of, you know, has me opening up to looking at this thing on such a different level. But the intensity of the journey can sometimes create that runner chaser dynamic, because somebody's not ready, because they see this thing and they're not ready to see themselves, or they realize how much work they still need to do. And it creates self-sabotage, it creates unworthiness and all of this stuff. And then it makes the other person leave in some senses. My experience, I've actually been the runner in this dynamic that I'm in, that I do believe is officially my twin flame.
That was actually going to be my next question. If you could actually share your personal experience with us, and your own personal journey, just from, I guess you mentioned the start. It started with a dream, and then you started looking into it, and then you believe you met your twin flame as well, right?
I do believe, and I, you know, we can only say that, right? I believe it is, because there's always this energy of, like, you know, could it be, especially if you're not in union, especially if you're not in union. So that's the condition that I'm in right now, not in union, and, you know, just having this sense of overwhelming longing and missing. And again, that absence makes the heart grow fonder. And what it is for me is the overwhelming urge to forgive. That's what it is. That's what it is for me. That makes me say, like, this is something different because I left. I'm the one that ended the dynamic, but yet don't feel like I need an apology. Like, I don't even need the apology. Like, I just want to be home. I just want to feel that at home again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you believe that the twin flame journey is essentially returning to home. It's coming back to yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you want to share more about what your personal experience is? You don't have to give too much, but you can give however much you want.
Absolutely. It's a roller coaster. You know, I realized that I'm a very left and right brain person. I'm a Taurus sun, as I mentioned, so I'm, you know, very grounded, and then I'm a Virgo moon, so I'm very grounded, right? But then I've got this very emotional, pie in the sky kind of energy. I believe in unicorns and fairies, and you know what I mean? Like, quite literally. So I have these two realms that allow me to stay very solid and very structured and very organized and very curt, even if I have to be. So it takes a lot for me to really be super mushy all the time and that kind of thing. So this dynamic is what made me realize there was something different, especially because it was immediate. It wasn't like where I feel like I have to kind of put guys through a long wait for me to really open up, and I'm not too emotional, I'm not too vulnerable, I'm not like there were no rules. I did not follow any of my rules with this particular dynamic, and just felt so, like we said, at home, just felt so comfortable. But again, because of the things that were being triggered, the emotional roller coaster is what ended up being something, again, that made me feel like this is something different. It was a very unique experience. The intuition that I felt in terms of don't hold back, don't second guess this, don't play the games, don't do the testing, I literally just didn't do anything that I normally do. It just felt so natural. It just felt so comfortable. I just felt like I couldn't, and again, ironically, I started to manifest this energy, and like within months, he just popped into my life. So that was kind of crazy in itself, because I was literally, after, like I said, the dreams, didn't know him at that time. And then started to just do different rituals and connecting. And, you know, I would light a candle, and the candle would actually, the flame would split. So there were two flames dancing in the freaking candle and shit. And I was just like, yo, what the hell is this? I always buy mushrooms. All of a sudden now, during this phase of me doing some of the rituals, ironically, were not even ritualistic, like where I planned them. It's just that when I saw the sign, then I would put energy towards it, going, oh, this must be because of this. Come on home, honey, come on home, you know? But I would buy mushrooms. I've been buying mushrooms I'm 43 years old. I'm a mother of an 11-year-old. I've been buying mushrooms for a very long time. And just during this time, I would buy a pack of mushrooms, and there would be two mushrooms stuck together. So it looks like an infinity or number 8. And I was like, yo, what the hell is this? So there were a bunch of things like that happening. I would be seeing two. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's so funny that you mentioned the infinity number 8 because of the reading we just had with all those 8s in it. And it's just very
exactly. And that's why it was hitting me so hard when you were saying it, because it was like I was already getting so much of that. And as a reader, I see those symbols and the numerology, and I tell other people too. So when I see it in their readings, I'm like, oh wow, look at this. Oh, everything's so magical. So next level. So thank you again for that. It's always awesome for a reader to get a reader, you know what I mean? To get a reading. So, but yes, so I'm now seeing these freaking mushrooms and the infinity number 8 symbol. And I'm like, what is this? I start seeing two birds, always two birds together, and mourning doves, and like birds that mate for life and different things. And I'm looking up all of these symbolisms and stuff, and it was just always happening. So I was just kind of taking certain self-love, I call them self-love soaks. And I would take my self-love soak and just try to focus on me. But then that's when I would light the candle and then see the two flames. And I'm like, hello, this is supposed to be about me. But then realizing about me is about him. Right. And that's the other thing that I love about the general concept of the twin flame journey, is that even and especially in separation, when you are focusing on yourself and when you are healing, you're healing them. Everything that you're doing for your aura, for your chakra you're doing for them as well. And it's kind of what obviously helps you come into union with, you have to come into union with yourself and your soul before you can come into union with that other, it's the same thing, you know what I mean? So it can only manifest on the 3D and tangible when you have actually practiced that for yourself, you know? So right. I'm right now, like I said, in separation. I left the dynamic because it was again, the emotional roller coaster was so intense. And I don't usually have a hard time, like, and I'm fumbling over my words, but this is like that kind of thing, because it's like, oh my God. And especially because we just had that situation. But anyway, it's deep. But the dynamic that we were in towards the end of it, he was in a very dangerous environment for his job. And it was very hard for me to not kind of get succumbed to the fear. And for me to kind of try to not succumb to the fear, I had to try to elevate myself and be extra positive, because then he started to succumb to the fear. And I knew that if he was scared, then he could be more in danger. He could not be alert. He could, you know what I mean? He was more at risk if he was really, really low vibrational. So I tried to kind of augment it higher up to kind of balance things out. And then there was a resentment that built up on his part, because then he was questioning how I could be positive when he was in such a dire situation. And I was trying to explain to him that I feel like I need to do that, because if we both stay down, you could get hurt, then you're not coming home. And we need you to come home. So I'm just really trying to keep you as elevated and keep myself as elevated, because I was literally on the bathroom floor crying in the middle of the night, because I also was repressing a lot during the day, because I couldn't let my daughter see me feeling what I was feeling. So I had to kind of purge when she was sleeping. And it was just this up and down, you know, experience that was, again, the most intense experience of my life. But as a result of the resentment that started to build, and his fear and the self-sabotage kind of set in, and he started to say some really hurtful things to me, but not hurtful to the point of toxicity or whatever, but just hurtful. It was just not nice. And I would tell him, like, it's mean. It feels like you're being mean, and I know where you're at and I know what this is about, but like, I need you to not do that to us. And I would say it wasn't about me, because again, the twin flame journey isn't us. Whatever we're doing to ourselves, we're doing to them, good, bad, or ugly, and vice versa. So I would say that. And we actually did talk about the twin flame journey, and we kind of established that was a thing. He knew less about it than I did. So I was kind of sharing a lot of that with him, but just in the ways that he would say stuff, it just showed how much his soul understood it, you know? Mm-hmm. And all of that to say, he just kind of downward spiraled emotionally. And I had to retreat. I had to run and choose me, because it just, you know, was getting hurtful. Right. So, yeah.
So where would you say in your journey now, where would you say things are?
The irony is that we have just actually connected again, very nonchalantly. And for 4 months, I followed the rules of the twin flame journey of don't contact them, don't touch base, don't break the silence, leave it alone, let it happen naturally. Well, Spirit gave me the most intense dream of reunion. And whenever I have dreams, and I do have, prophetic dreams and premonitions and such, and if I dream of someone, I always call them when I wake up to check in. Hey, hope you're good. Even if I don't say I had a dream about you, I will just check in with the person that I had a dream about. But if it is something specific that I feel is a warning, then I will tell them, this is what happened in the dream. Just, kind of take care, be careful. And usually the person will tell me, oh my God, I was just thinking about you, or, oh my God, thank you, I was about to go, now I'm not gonna, or whatever the case is. So I have a kind of rule for myself that if I dream of someone, touch base and just check in, make sure they're good. So I get this dream about him, but it was the most detailed, most lucid dream of us meeting, reunion, our kids meeting, my whole family meeting him. It was like so incredibly detailed. And I woke up at 2:18 a.m. Twin flame number is 1111 and 222, which are numbers we used to see all the time with each other. If I'd see it, I would send him a message at that time, and just 222, the heart or something like that. So at 2:18, I wake up from this dream and I'm like, oh my God, what are the chances that now I'm going to see 222 while I'm recording this, what happened. So I'm recording this thing. I'm in tears. It was so intense. It was so beautiful. It was like, I'm even talking about it now. I could feel it and see it so vividly. And then same thing in my mind. And this is the thing to understand about the twin flame journey is that we can't make choices based on what our mind tells us and our ego tells us. This is a heart soul domain, period. So even though we're understanding or we're researching or we're learning about the twin flame journey from an intellectual perspective, we have to take it all with a grain of salt so that we can really hone into our unique experience that is on the heart and on the soul level. So ironically, I was in the head saying, you know, no, don't, even though you had the dream, don't touch base. And then as soon as I said that, my heart, my soul came up going, like saying, like, what are you talking about? How could you not? What do you mean? So I was like, oh, okay, then I guess I should. And then I just, in that moment, touched base and just said, hey, I hope you're good. I had a dream about you. And I literally just sent the message. And then he responded, and just seeing his name show up on, like, oh my God, it's a thing. It's a thing. It's a thing. So I'm like, this has to be it. Which is again why I'll still say I believe he is. I believe he is. And now I'm like talking about it, and one day he'll hear this, and whether he is or not, I just put my shit on blast. But anyway, I sent the message. He responded. Total clarity, closure, this feeling of like, I was like, even if I never hear from him again, even if this is it, this is more, like, it was so enough. Even just having the dream was enough. It was so weird. But anyway, so since then, and that was July 7th, Sirius Stargate. Okay. And I was in meditation with Sirius Stargate from the portal opening on July 3rd. So the fact that this happened during that time, and literally July 7th, 2:18 a.m. is when I have this, when I wake up from this dream, I was like, there's no accident to this. And I'm also very much in alignment with Hinduism and the concept of samadhi, of like really releasing the illusions of the mind and really letting the heart and the soul lead. So I was in a meditation all that time between the 3rd and the 7th, and then very heavy in the meditation, obviously on the peak on the 7th, and then go to sleep and then have this dream. So I was like, there's no accident to that. And as we understand, Aset and Osar, Isis and Osiris are twin flames. That's a twin flame journey. You know what I mean? So all of these things started to kind of happen. And I was like, okay, just touch base. I touch base. And since then, we've been back and forth here and there, a little bit this, a little bit of that. He'll send a, GIF with a bird, ironically, with a heart in its mouth, and, stuff like that. And I'm just kind of like, it's all I need. Oh my God, I love you. Oh my God.
That's really sweet.
It's a whole thing. Yeah. But, so yeah, that's part of my experience and where we're at right now, and where I'm also learning same thing, get out of my head. Because I was still kind of saying, okay, just respond, but don't initiate. If he touches base, he touches base. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But then I'm like, well, no, if you want to touch base, touch base. Right. If you want to say, have a good day, just tell him to have a good day. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's where we're at.
Well, that is a lovely place to be, I think. And like I was saying earlier, if your heart and soul are telling you to do something and it's just telling you constantly and it's not leaving you, then that's a message from beyond to do it.
Exactly. And I've tried to let him go so many times on an intellectual level, even like every full moon since we've been in separation, I've been releasing this dude, and that hasn't done anything. So there's a reason for that.
There is.
Yeah.
I do hope that this journey takes you to really beautiful, wonderful places, and based on the reading, I think it will.
Yeah.
I think this is a wonderful experience for everyone who allows themselves to have it. And I don't, like we said earlier, I don't think the misery is really part of it. I think that's the trick.
I agree.
And everyone who allows themselves to experience the beauty of this, they have something that could be lifelong, that could be
absolutely
lifetimes, even.
Absolutely. Exactly.
I do believe that my twin soul connection is pre this lifetime.
Yeah,
it's been a couple. So we're wrapping up here, but I would like to know if you have any advice for other people who believe that they are on a similar journey to find their twin soul, their soulmate, whatever they feel to call it. Do you have any guidance or advice for those out there listening?
I do. And I'm, I've been practicing, and now I'm, I feel good about what I preach right now because I've been actually practicing it. The book, All About Love by Bell Hooks, I will go tell it on the mountain to absolutely anyone who will listen to read that book. It is heart healing and soul soaring. So please read All About Love, New Visions by Bell Hooks. I will share that. So much will come for yourself.
Yeah, I'll find a way to link that in the show notes or something so that people can find it.
Yeah. That's going to lead.
All About Love?
All About Love, New Visions by Bell Hooks. We speak your name, Ashe. Yeah, it really is transformative, and it's going to lead you. And again, ironically, I was on a self-love commitment for 6 weeks during Venus retrograde, the last 6 weeks, the last 6 days of the 6 weeks of Venus retrograde. And that was it was 3 or 4 months before I started to call in his energy. And then he just showed up. So definitely read that book. Like I said, do the research, read up, watch YouTube videos, the whole thing, but take it all with a grain of salt. It's really about opening up your mind, your heart, and your soul on a holistic level, the integration of mind, heart, and soul. But then that way you're able to kind of tap into your own intuition of what things are supposed to feel like. If you're in a current dynamic and you feel like you're on a twin flame journey, but then you know that the person you're with can't be, you're going to have to be honest and release that, because you can't call something in if something's taking up its space. So that's something that's very hard sometimes for people to hear, because they're comfortable where they are. But it's like, you can't just expect them to show up if there's energy there that's kind of, taking it up. That was a huge thing for me. I've actually been celibate for 2 years because I decided then that I want the one. I don't want to have casual sex anymore. Like, I don't want to
That's so funny. It's been about 2.5 years for me too, that
wow.
I made pretty much the same exact decision.
Wow.
Yeah, that is crazy. I was thinking about it yesterday. I was like, it's actually been 2.5 years, because it was November 2019 when I made that decision.
Wow. Amazing. Wow. And your birthday's May 22nd, right?
26th.
26th. Got it. Because May 22nd was that day for me 2 years ago.
Wow.
So now I'm like 2 years, 2 months, whatever. Yeah. So it was exactly that, and it's not that I didn't have people that I trusted and that I had really healthy dynamics with, that I could have just got broken off if I wanted to, what I'm saying? But I was just like, no, I want to save myself. Like, I really felt there was something that just called me into saying, and again, the number 2, right? 2 years, there's no accident in that. 2 years, 2 months, May, June, July. Wow. That just hit me. But yeah, it's exactly that just made me say, like, no, I want to just to think about what kind of honor that would be to say, like, I knew you were coming and I wanted to save myself for you. Like, that's what I wanted to be able to say to him, whoever he is, and I'm still there. So that's, big advice. Make space to call in, for what it is that you want. If you believe that this is part of your journey, if you've already connected with your twin flame and you are in separation, I'm also understanding that we have to be mindful, heartful, and soulful about the words that we use. And there is no separation. You can't be separate from your own soul. So I don't even use that term anymore. We're forever together. We're forever, it's just about the 3-dimensional union. But this concept of twin flame is 5-dimensional. It is 6, 7, 8, 10, 1,000 dimensions. You know what I mean? Like, it's
infinite.
Yes, exactly. So for us to say separation and the healing and the surrender chaser and all of those things are 3-dimensional concepts and terms that could actually keep us physically separate. So, that's definitely something I would say to think about. It's about focusing on yourself and your heart healing and your soul healing, and remembering that all of the healing that you do for yourself, you're actually doing for your other person anyway. So just continue to keep doing that work, not to obsess. Easier said than done. Trust me, from one day to the next, I'd be obsessing, but try not to obsess, and just, again, focus on the self-love, because again, it is for them as well. Transmit, connect telepathically, record your dreams, especially if it's in alignment with that connection. And then I have Twin Flame Tuesdays that I do, where only on Tuesdays do I let myself get lost in the energy. And I do twin flame frequency meditations and guided meditations, and I'll write a journal and, little letters to him and different things like that. And I just restrict it in some ways to Tuesdays so that I don't get caught up. But then at the same time, I'm really kind of giving some concentrated information. Actually have just started my Twin Flame Tuesdays series, where I'm going to post readings for us twin flames on the journey on my BackIINatural YouTube page. So I launched the first one this past Tuesday, right after our virtual vendors on Twin Flames. So check into that if y'all want to, every Tuesday, and then you'll get a message from Spirit about the Twin Flame journey, and it'll kind of help us deconstruct some of the intellectual learnings that we're getting about the journey as well. And trust, surrender, divine timing, all of that stuff is a real thing. So just lean back.
That is all good. I will check out that YouTube because I haven't seen that. I saw your full moon readings, but I haven't seen that one.
Cool.
So I'll go and check that out. You listeners out there, go check out Back to Natural on YouTube and also on Instagram. Every month, Sabrina hosts a virtual vendors event. Do you want to very quickly tell us what those are?
Absolutely. So I do try to create sacred space for Black women entrepreneurs, artists, and healers. So Sacred Service Syndicate is actually affiliate of Back to Natural. So this event is empowered by Back to Natural and under Sacred Service Syndicate. And it's basically, again, aligning with the original woman, the melanated woman, and how a lot of the destruction that's happening in the world right now was done by the hands of the antithesis of us. So it is kind of on Black women, I think, to really reclaim their power. And I was looking for an affinity group and I just couldn't find one that wasn't pretentious. To be honest, I tried and it was just kind of, no, this is not feeling right. This is not feeling right. I needed to be like really, really grounded and authentic and feel good and homey. And then I just heard Spirit say, well, what you can't find, you have to create it. So I created it. And Queendom Quest, we gather every new moon on Zoom, Black women. And then that turned into virtual vendors, which is just highlighting specific, like I said, entrepreneurs, healers, and artists. And we talk about different topics, like Twin Flames was our, topic on the 11th of every month. So this past one was about Twin Flames. And then we also promote each other's businesses and services and brands and all of that good stuff. So I think it's important for us to think about keeping things in the family, like a lot of cultures do, within the Black community as well. We have a hard time keeping the dollar within our community. So I figure if we kind of start the community a little bit smaller and create a sense of camaraderie and loyalty, then it will ripple out if we start within that small group. And that's what we're doing together. We're all working it out and it's growing and it's building. There's about 100 of us, I would say, at this point, which is pretty awesome. And see how it goes. I'm keeping it flowing.
Well, that is what you've done. You've done a wonderful job with it, I should say. I'm very grateful to have found you and Back to Natural and virtual vendors and all the other amazing people that you've connected me to through this.
Thank you.
And I hope to interview some more of those wonderful women too, because honestly, it's just a bunch of amazing people and they're doing such fantastic things. Like
absolutely.
It's what you said. It's very humble, very authentic, very real. Like it just feels like friends. And I love it. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You belong. Like I always say to each one of us, once we walk through that door, and I refer to the people I do readings for, clients, whatever I call them my butterflies, because we've already been through a transformation. We've already come out of a cocoon to find each other. That's the only way, but we can continue to go into new cocoons because every cocoon is a portal and we can come out with bigger, bolder, brighter wings. Why not?
That is a beautiful metaphor.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here, Sabrina. Thank you for talking to me about this.
Thank you so much.
And I wish you just wonderful, beautiful things for the rest of your journey.
I appreciate you and you so much. And I did forget to mention in terms of the advice, feel it to heal it. Because even though it's difficult, especially with the separation or longing, it's hard to not obsess, but you don't want to kind of just repress it. So feel it, but then kind of keep it moving. And that's why I kind of try to funnel the feeling it on Tuesdays so I can have a normal life for the rest of the 6 days. And then when you see twin flame numbers like 1111 and 222, if you happen to see that, send them love, whether you've met them or not. Just connect with them on a soul level and be like, I see you, I feel you, I know you're coming. Take your time. It is what it is. Timing is divine. And just release it, So I did want to add that too.
Well, thank you for adding that. That is actually something anybody who's listened to me for a long time, any of my students in the Maiden Circle groups will know that one of my biggest things is that you do have to feel your feelings to heal them. You have to let that happen. So anyone who's been listening to me for a while will know that I'm 100% on with that advice.
Awesome. Absolutely.
So yeah, that was our talk for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was beautiful. I so appreciate it.
I hope we can do this again soon.
I hope so as well. I'm yours anytime. This was an honor. Thank you. Thank you.
That was such a fantastic interview. I am so glad we got to do that. I can't wait for the next time that I get to speak to someone as interesting and witty as Sabrina. So we have now reached our divination section. Today I am going to be reading with the Whole Heart Oracle, a deck I designed and you can find on Etsy if you go to etsy.com/shop/maidensplayground, all one word. Then you will find this and my other decks, which I will be bringing onto the show every now and then. So because twin flames and soulmates are often seen in a romantic sense, and this deck has a very sweet romantic energy, I thought it would be the perfect deck for our reading today. I call upon the God and Goddess, Mother and Father, Lord and Lady. I call upon our angels, our ancestors, our spiritual guides, our passed on loved ones, and all those beings who want the absolute best for us, those who are watching over us now. I call upon you, those who are connected to this audio, who are listening to this show, this podcast. I call upon you who are guarding them and guiding them. What is the message today to give to whoever is here listening now who needs it? Please and thank you. Please and thank you. We have, I can't make this up, this is a divine connection. There's no doubt about it. This connection was decided long ago by divine beings of fate and destiny. Don't question it. This connection is truly meant to be. Then we have, a friendship may become more. Something that was once one way is now another. Connection may be growing deeper and changing for the better. Next we have, is someone keeping secrets? Are you holding something a little too close to the chest? Consider whether you're keeping quiet about something for the right reasons, or whether you're better off sharing what's in your heart. Okay, those are all the cards that we are pulling here, so I'm going to go ahead and give you just a little bit of a deeper interpretation for what I'm seeing. So, for whoever you may be, and of course, take what resonates with you and leave what doesn't, we have a connection between you and someone who may be a friend right now, and one of you is feeling more and not yet admitting it, not yet coming forward and saying how you feel. One of you may be a lot more open about it, or it could be both of you. It could be that both of you are keeping your feelings secret. So once someone opens up, this friendship is going to turn into something more, and you are going to realize, like our first card said, this is a divine connection. There's nothing to doubt. There's nothing to fear. There's nothing to question. This person who is meant for you is there for you, and they care as much about you as you do about them. The love is real. So that's a really beautiful reading. I do hope that resonated with you. Let me know. So that was our show. Thank you so much for listening. Please remember to subscribe, like, click heart, whatever it is on whatever platform you're on, just to show support for the show. Thank you, of course, always for being here. Write me, let me know your thoughts on today's episode. Tune in for our next episode where we'll be talking about meditation. Until then, know that you are loved, and I send you so many blessings. Bye now.